Previously on your favorite episode.
J.K. Rowling's a fucking asshole.
Oh my god.
Hello, hi. It's me, your friend Jackie.
Oh my god.
And today I want to talk about the director of this episode. We're talking about Season 1, Episode 6 of Better Call Saul, called 5-0. It was directed by a dude named Adam Bernstein. He has directed a bunch of one-off prestige dramas, some episodes of 30 Rock, of course Breaking Bad, and Alpha House, which has John Goodman in it, and do I really need to tell you anything else? And music videos that I really love. I don't know if there was a more iconic music video than the Love Shack music video, but this is the dude that directed it. The same guy that directed this episode. He did the Love Shack video and the Rome video, both two amazing B-52s videos. He also directed 57 Channels and Nothing On by Bruce Springsteen, which I feel like me and Mickey feel like an affinity to with this show because I don't know, it's about TV. That song's about TV. Also, American Music by the Violent Femmes. Also, Hey Ladies by the Beastie Boys, which my favorite memory of that song is me and Dee and her friend Shimon were driving home from a dance competition and we were listening to this weird mixed CD that I had on it, and this song was on it, Hey Ladies. And I just remember driving home and all three of us just screaming the chorus. And then also, They Might Be Giants, Birdhouse in Your Soul. That song makes me think of my friends Jeff and Jen because I believe that was the song that she walked down the aisle to. But I know that their wedding was very They Might Be Giantsy. So, have a happy feeling about that. I feel like every time I do these are just rambling. And I hope people don't mind the rambling because I either know how to not talk or ramble. And most of the time I just pick not talk. And finally, this dude, Adam Bernstein, also directed Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot, which is the most 90s thing ever. So one, this guy has been around a long time. It's not some young pup directing this episode. It's a grown-up human man, probably older than me, definitely older than me, because he wasn't like a high schooler directing the music videos I watched in high school. But then I started thinking about other film directors who got their start in music videos, and there's some of the ones that I really tend to enjoy the best, but then there's also Michael Bay, which seems crazy to me that he was a music video director. Did Tina Turner Explosions? But then you have David Fincher, who did the Madonna Express Yourself video, which is one of the first videos I remember seeing. And his filmmaking, I don't know, just the way his movies feel just really resonates with me. So I think that that's something I might look at. I might start paying more attention to who directs music videos to get an idea. Oh, the perfect example of this for me specifically, the Turn Down for What video. It's that stupid video where the dude's got this big erection and he's just smashing through all the different floors of this apartment building. It's a great video. It's very exciting. I don't know. It's fun. So those guys, the Daniels, are these two dudes. They directed that video. And then they directed one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years, Swiss Army Man, which is, if you're being reductive, the Daniel Radcliffe Corpse movie. But if you're being reflective, it is a movie about mental illness and celebrating life and remembering what it's like to be alive. It's a fucking great movie. I love it. The music is beautiful. Oh shit, Gus Van Sant was another one. I always forget that.
TV rots your brains.
That's absurd. TV only softens the brain like a ripe banana.
Television. Much of our future depends on the way we use this medium of communication.
Since you went off to LA, how long you been there?
4 years.
You've been in LA 4 years now.
Yeah, I mean it feels weird with the pandemic, it feels less than that, but yeah, it's been 4 years weirdly.
That has to feel like a sort of lost time.
Yeah, it's not great.
But yeah.
How are you doing?
Oh, good. Things are beautiful back here. You left a perfectly sane and intact state. I don't know if you know that.
yeah, it's great. Everything's good over there.
But yeah. No, it's just sunny and gorgeous, and we're all happy.
Yeah, that's
all
awesome.
of the time, and that's
great. I can tell, man. I believe it.
Yeah, that's how it's going. But no, it's beautiful. Well, talking about depressing southern states, Albuquerque, and is a state, and
that's right.
And no, it is.
It
is.
That's
my segue. But no. So let's talk Better Call Saul, because I understand you're on something of a time crunch tonight.
Yeah, I got a show later, so I gotta.
Okay. Sure cool. What's the show? Plug the show now so that we don't forget to plug the show later.
Oh, do you have? Because is it gonna be live?
No,
it's not gonna be live at all. It's not gonna be live. It's at the same show.
It's at this place called the Yard. I think it's something called like Yard Apples or something. And it's tonight at like 7:30.
Tonight at 7. Everybody, whenever you hear this, whatever night this is.
Yeah, just go.
Apples.
We'll just go to the Yard at least. It's a good venue. You can go support it. I might be there.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's always good places to go catch Nick. And I do want to get to that, where we catch Nick. But before we get to that, let's talk Better Call Saul here. Now, first of all, for listeners who are just unfamiliar, walk me through the general premise of Better Call Saul, and you don't have to go through all of Breaking Bad, but you might
no.
Give us a little taste of why this happened, what the show is in relation to Breaking Bad.
Better Call Saul, it's a prequel to Breaking Bad. It's a spinoff of the lawyer in Breaking Bad named Saul Goodman. His commercials are his tagline is Better Call Saul, and they made a whole show about him and how he became a corrupt lawyer. And it's great. It's just as good as Breaking Bad without Jesse and Walter, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really is. If you were a fan of Breaking Bad and you haven't caught Better Call Saul, and I've got to admit, I've only ever seen the first season.
I'm
one of those people who has felt the pressure.
Yeah,
but not.
But you've watched. That means that you've watched the episode that I
did. Oh yeah, and then of course I rewatched it for this. But I had seen that.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw it again, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I just get why it's such a great episode.
Yeah, it's such a great episode.
But yeah, it's a powerhouse of a show.
Yeah.
So we're following Bob Odenkirk's Saul, and his name isn't Saul. And give me a little breakdown just of the character. Just go through who he is.
Saul Goodman. His real name is Jimmy McGill, and he's a former con artist, criminal, and his older brother, is a very, very successful lawyer who's like famous in the lawyer industry and the law. He has a very complicated, difficult relationship with his brother, who at the time of the show has a disorder, a mental disorder that makes him believe that he's affected by everything electronic.
Radio waves.
Waves. He lives in darkness and solitude, and his brother Jimmy McGill, or Saul, takes care of him.
Right. And by the way, just throw this out there, and it's sad because he doesn't even pop into this particular episode.
Right.
But Bob Odenkirk's performances as Saul was impressive. Was one of those things that was just like, my God, I didn't know that was in Bob Odenkirk. Michael McKean's performance as his brother was, again, just like, I've seen your whole career. How did I not know this was in you? How did I not know there was this like performance inside Michael McKean?
It's like one of those, it's like one of the, there's sometimes like an actor does a role where they make you think of them as a completely different kind of actor. And then you read a little bit more about them and you find out that they're just like, oh, of course they're that good. They've been classically trained. They've been doing it for 40 years, and it's just like, Yeah, and he was one of those cases
Yeah.
for me as well.
Yeah, he was just one of those guys that you weren't expecting. I mean, like, it's not that I'd never thought that he was good. Like, I always enjoyed seeing Michael McKean and so on. I just
Totally.
never seen this
I
performance.
always thought of him more as a comedy.
Yeah,
You know, he was always
right.
in comedies.
Yeah, exactly. And he's great. And the Christopher Guest comedies and so on, like, he's just, he's perfect. And then, but again,
Amazing.
Bob Odenkirk, same thing. How many of us knew him as, from Mr. Show and just this as this, like, basically, hey, I'm kind of if Saturday Night Live were allowed to be a lot dirtier, like, this is, what I would be giving you.
Totally.
And then again, to get the performance that they got out of him.
I love Bob Odenkirk's trajectory. You know, I think it's so fascinating. I mean, like, starting in comedy and like you said, like, this irreverent sketch group, one of my favorite shows ever. And then going from that to playing roles like Saul Goodman or that Nobody movie, which I enjoyed because I just like him a lot.
Oh yeah, that was great.
He's just awesome.
He's an enjoyable guy to watch. One of those just fully engaging people, like, when he's on.
Yeah.
But he's not the center of this episode either. And let's talk about, this episode in this season of Better Call Saul is called 5-0.
That's right.
It's episode 6.
Episode 6.
Episode 6. So first of all, set this episode up. This episode is primarily about
Mike. It's about Michael Ehrmantraut, played by Jonathan Banks. What I love about this episode is this is like, right, because you meet Mike in Breaking Bad, and he's a great character, and he's a character that everybody loves, and now in this show you get to learn all these things about Mike that you never knew. So this episode is really like this. It's such a great setup for Mike.
Yeah, and he is one of those fan favorite characters. He is just one of those guys that everybody loves.
Yeah, if you're watching the show, you know that, like, the show is really about three people. It's about Saul, it's about Jonathan Banks, Mike, and it's about Rhea Seehorn, who plays Kim. This episode just focuses on Mike, and you learn, you find out what his history is with his son and why he's trying to take care of his granddaughter, and trying to get all this money together and stuff, because that was always a thing in Breaking Bad, and you never really understood exactly what it was. I don't think they ever explicitly stated anything like that.
I don't think they walk you through it that way,
which was probably a conscious decision. I feel like they probably thought they were going to do more with it later. But
and you know that, and this is the thing, in Breaking Bad, they don't even make it the kind of mystery where you think you're going to get an answer. In Breaking Bad, it's sort of just like, oh no, his past is too complex. Right. Like his past is so complex, you couldn't even begin to understand what he's done and what. It's kind of like Alfred. It's Batman's butler there. You'll never know the full extent of what Alfred got up to. Like, that's just kind of the thing, is you constantly learn something else. Alfred used to be a pimp or something somewhere. Yeah. And so, this is the Mike was like that. In Breaking Bad, it was just this, like, oh no, he's done everything. He was a mercenary or something. He was
that's what I love about, like, they've done such a good job in this show to set those characters up from Breaking Bad as, like, these these really like evil, complex characters, and now going back to they've just done such a good job at, like, making it all make sense.
Yeah, right. And of course, part of it being to find a sort of moral sympathy with people. I mean, again, that's kind of the trademark of the series, right? Is to put people in really kind of awful situations, and have them often take the pride solution, the one that isn't necessarily, like, the most peaceful or the best for everybody, but it's the pride solution.
Oh yeah.
But you develop a sort of empathy for them anyway, and that's what the show is going for. That's, like, the push of the show is to get you to, like, be in there. So this is a great episode for that.
Yeah, totally.
with Mike.
Yeah.
So yeah, this goes back. Even though the show is a prequel, this flashes back on that
Even further. Yeah.
Yeah.
The episode starts with Mike having like a bullet wound in his shoulder. You find out clearly he just had gotten into some kind of like fight with some people. He's being picked up by his daughter-in-law, and then the episode really like where does it starts from? Do you remember? Because I just rewatched it again, but I'm trying to remember exactly where it began.
Okay, so that part, the part that we see there, that's the train, that's him coming straight from Philadelphia. So that's the earliest.
Yes.
Well, we actually will go back even earlier eventually in the episode. But where we're starting there, that's the early part, because we're going to flash forward
a little further. Yeah.
A little further than that. Yeah. And we're going to go like a year or something into the future. Yeah,
it's a year, but I'm trying to think of the best way to set this up. So
he's shot in the shoulder, and he meets with his daughter-in-law.
Yeah,
and all we know is that he's just come to town to Albuquerque at the time.
That's right.
And the daughter-in-law basically like starts grilling him. And I thought that again was just was a great scene, but she's trying not to grill him.
Yeah, right.
Because
of the circumstances are. I think this is where we find out that Mike's son was murdered by 2 police officers.
Yeah, right.
So,
but at the time, all we know is that there was an ambush. There was an ambush at a drug house, and Mike is like, cop shit. Like that happens. And then we find out that his partner died like 6 months later.
Right.
And that was when Mike had shown up in Albuquerque.
That's right. Well, the 2 partners, yeah.
Right, the 2 partners.
Or the partner and the other guy.
Partner and the sergeant. Yeah,
That's
partner
right.
and the sergeant. Yeah, had died.
Yeah.
And that's when he had wound up in Albuquerque. So here's one of the things, and I think that we can just do this because, this episode's going to, our podcast is going to spoil the episode anyway. So I'm going to spoil the episode now.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I think that this was one of the most sort of genius things about it.
Right.
They didn't drag this out. Make it like a season-long mystery or a couple seasons, like wondering whatever happened to those cops and da-da-da-da.
Right.
It was so obvious from the first second. It would only make sense that it was they killed him over some dirty shit. They killed his son over some dirty shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he killed them to
retaliation,
get revenge for his son. And that was, and that's just what happened. And we find out over the course of the episode that is what happened.
Yeah.
But I just, and so I didn't want to drag it up because they didn't. And I just thought,
I totally.
Yeah, I just thought that was such a brilliant stroke, was not to try and hook the audience. There are a lot of shows try and hook the audience just with information you don't have.
Right.
Just stuff that you can't possibly know. So therefore keep watching the show and then you'll know. Right.
Yeah. And I think you're right that's like absolutely a storyline that they could have dragged out of, throughout an entire season. But the part of what makes the episode so great is that you get all that information in one episode. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like this entire story that explains so much of who Mike is.
And it's relevant. And that's the thing, is that it's not about moving the plot by just figuring this out. It's relevant.
Yes.
To who Mike is as a person.
Right. And there's cause and effect, There's he goes, he kills these 2 cops in retaliation. He goes to that one dude, Joe DeRosa, the doctor, to get stitched up. And through that guy, the vet, he's an animal vet, but he's also like this, criminal
mob doctor
guy.
Which I love. They don't even show him asking around. We just assume that he found the dirtiest vet in Albuquerque.
Right.
Hey.
Well, it's like he got lucky from the cab that he got in, because the cab, he was like, "How well do you know this city?" And the cab driver was like, I know it pretty. It's like that one guy that you.
That cab was like, oh, the dirty vet who
Yeah.
stitches up mob guys. Yeah,
Right.
Let me take you.
Oh, you're a stranger who just got in my car, and you could very easily be a cop. I don't care.
Sure. Yeah.
Take my chances.
Does that guy like hand out cards? Like, like, hey, if you ever have anybody in here with a gunshot, like bring him over.
Right. Yeah, totally.
I can totally take it.
Yeah.
But so like he you were saying he gets stitched up at the vets.
Yeah, and then through that guy he gets a bunch more work, and that has an effect later on in the season, and that gets him involved more and more with the cartels and stuff. So it's like it's everything happens for like a reason, and there are cause and effect and story driven moments that happen after that.
It's also he makes a deeper connection to Saul in this episode.
Yes.
Because when
Saul
we flash forward a year, he's been called in for questioning.
Right.
By these two cops from Philadelphia. And he calls in Saul. And I love what he calls in Saul to do. I love the whole.
Yeah, so Mike's in the interrogation room.
Yeah.
And he's being interrogated by these two other detectives who think that he killed these two cops. And so Mike doesn't say anything without a lawyer, gets Saul to come in, and then Saul's like, okay, Saul comes in thinking he's got to represent, Mike in this case, but Mike's just like, what I want you to do is when we get up to leave, I want you to spill this coffee all over the detective, and then I'll wipe his shirt off and steal his notebook that I need. And so he kind of forces Saul to make that decision.
I listened to the commentary about this episode right before we recorded, and Vince Gilligan said he had to watch that scene 7 times before he noticed him taking the notebook.
It's really swift. Yeah.
It really is.
It's really swift.
I do kind of wonder how much of a tradesman Jonathan Banks at this point has become in like palming guns and shit. Like he's very effective at it.
Yeah, he's great. I believe that guy takes his job very seriously as an actor. Yeah.
What's your particular favorite moment in the show, just in this episode? What is it that seals this episode for you?
Oh, I mean his monologue at the end, Jonathan Banks' monologue. It seals the whole thing. I think the whole episode is good. It's like action packed. It's like, there's some great cinematography. There's some really great acting moments, but there's a monologue at the end where Mike is talking to his daughter-in-law, and he's confessing what happened with Maddie, his son, and why he was killed by these cops. And it's because the cops thought that he was going to rat them out, so they killed him. And he expresses his guilt for convincing. Basically, it was right. So it was like Maddie was offered money by these dirty cops that they had gotten in this like raid, and he was like, I don't want to be any part of that. And so they were worried that he was going to go and talk because he wasn't taking the money. And then Mike convinced his son to take the money so that he didn't die. And then he convinced his son took the money, and then they killed him anyways. And so Mike's thing was, I made my son do something that was so below him, something that he never would have done himself. And I made him like me, because Mike says that he used to be a dirty cop, so he's like, I made him like me. I broke my boy. And it's this a great moment. And it's like the most acting you ever get to see from Jonathan Banks in this show or Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, and that was, I mean, I'm with you on that. I figured that was going to be the thing that you mentioned, because Banks is so famous in this show for being able to, for doing the whole like total stoicism at all times.
Yeah.
To the point where, again, in Breaking Bad, I would say his most famous scene is, and again, spoiling this for anybody who hasn't watched Breaking Bad, very sorry, it's been out for a while.
They'll be all right.
Is his death. His death in Breaking Bad, when they let him say fuck the one time that AMC let him say fuck in the show and they didn't bleep it.
Yeah.
And he tells Walter, he says, Walter, can you shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
And just sits there and then dies. And
I didn't know that was the only fuck they gave him in the show. Is that real?
In the whole show, yeah, right. And they let them say it at other times, but they would bleep it.
They
would cut it, but that was the only time they let it be there because they were like, no, it was too good a scene. It was too important a scene. And he died with it. And you're like, yeah, that was his whole thing right up to his death, literally to the moment of his death. He did not cry. He was not upset about it. He did not yell. He just goes, Walter, would you shut the fuck up? And then he dies. And that's the scene. And I'm like, to give him this scene, this monologue in this episode, where when he talks about his son, he breaks.
Oh, yeah.
He fully breaks. He cried he's breaking. His voice is breaking. His eyes are breaking. Everything is breaking in him as he delivers this thing about his son. And I made him like me.
Well, it seems like the only thing that would really make Mike cry is knowing that, it feels like someone could die and he's distraught, but he's not going to break.
Right.
And this one thing that only time you've ever seen him cry is knowing that he made his son do something wrong.
Right.
And his son was killed for it.
The idea that there was purity in the world, Mike's entire character is based on cynicism, right? Everything's bad. Everybody's robbing everybody. It's okay to do all of this shit. It's okay to work for a drug lord and kill people for him and shit because it doesn't matter. You can't help it. You can't get people off meth. You can't fight the problem. It doesn't matter. And the thing that killed him the most was the idea that maybe it did. Maybe his son was good. Maybe his son would have been a genuinely good force and his son was killed even after he corrupted him. And the loss of that, the loss of the only thing that he could have ever believed would have been good in the world. That's it. Yep. That was the end for him, and he was just never going to cry again. But that made him cry. That was obviously something that he, cared about. And you're right. Banks gets that across, to the point where you just don't, you can't distinguish between Banks gives one of those performances where you just can't imagine that character not existing. You can't imagine it not being real, you know?
Yeah. He carries so much weight, as a character. It's like this guy. He's unshakable. He's just he's so stoic. He's so he's like a stone wall. He's like a total, complete, high confidence dude.
Yeah,
you don't want to fuck with him.
Yeah, and all competence. He knows exactly what he's doing in every situation. He doesn't do it unless he knows what he's doing in every situation. And that's really the case there. Where were you? Now, where did you watch Better Call Saul? Did you watch it as it came out? Did you not watch it until it was streaming?
No, I watched, I just watched all of it recently.
Really?
So I just, I think I watched the first 4 or 5 episodes years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just maybe a month ago, I was I'm gonna rewatch those episodes and finish the whole series.
Finish the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't seen season 5 yet because it's not on Netflix.
Right. Yeah, that's the one we're all waiting on, except for that I again am.
April 3rd. April 3rd. Perfect.
April 3rd.
Perfect. I can wait that long.
Did you watch Breaking Bad when it came out?
I rewatched Breaking Bad earlier this year, and I watched that. I came onto that when I was 4 seasons in, and then I just got really caught up immediately, and then watched all the rest as they came out. But this show is so good, and it sets up the characters so well that it makes me want to rewatch Breaking Bad again,
Yeah.
just to be like, oh well, now I know all this stuff about these characters, because they obviously they're writing in reverse, where they're like writing the backstories of these characters. But I feel like they've done such a good job at doing that if you were to rewatch the show Breaking Bad, then it feels like it would add like a whole other life to these characters.
So now I want to play a little inside baseball then with this, because you, of course, were in one of the great prestige dramas, the great AMC prestige dramas.
That's right.
Of our times. I'm not kind of kidding about that, people, by the way. Like that's not me like exaggerating to flatter our guest. Like dead serious. Right. Halt and Catch Fire is one of the best shows that they produce. Like hands down. Like literally.
It's great. It's a great show. Yeah.
Yeah. But so when you look at an episode like this, I just want to know if what it takes to act in an episode where you've got to keep different timelines and in order and so on. How was that? I mean, just do you have any appreciation for it having been on the other side of that?
Oh yeah. I mean, every time I act, I have more appreciation for actors who do a really good job in shows. Yeah. It's I mean, like with people like Mike, if you're in a show like Breaking Bad and that they just don't give you that information. Mm-hmm. You don't know who this guy is. You don't know what his background is. Like you might be able to talk to the show creator or, some of the writers about it, but like you need to create a lot of that in yourself, and that's something that I see people like Jonathan Banks do with Mike. It's just like in Breaking Bad, you're like, I don't know why, but I feel like I just know this dude, but you know so little about him.
Yeah.
But you're like, I know what he would do. I know how he would react,
That's a really good point. And I've never even considered the idea of like, I wonder what it's like to then get something about the backstory of your character and go, oh, I hadn't thought that at all.
Yes.
that totally was not my image. Like, I just wonder how much this challenged Jonathan Banks's perception of Mike when he got it. And if he was like, oh, I had not guessed this.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think there's sometimes actors
work things out.
They'll work things out. They'll find something. They'll hear something about their character, and they'll either roll with it, or if they feel like they really have a good grasp on this character, then they'll protest it. And they might be like, hey, I don't think my character would do this. And I mean, everyone I think can make their case. You just don't want to be that, especially if I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
It just just being like pretty new to show business, as like one of the younger guys on any given set, to be to be like, this isn't what my character would do. I don't want to be that fucking asshole.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously there is a certain respect that goes into it. I think you have to earn at a certain with a certain amount of time to be able to ask for that kind of like credence, to be able to go, hey, can you trust me on this character right now, writer who wrote this character? Can you trust me to know that I know where it's going? And it's yeah, I mean, not everyone can ask for that. Some people can. Some people you will go, okay, I'll listen to you. And I think that Gilligan does. Because I know that, like Gilligan's talked about being responsive to fans. He's talked about being responsive to the actors. Originally Jesse was supposed to die. And so like in the first season or something like that, or second season. And so, yeah, I think that's a really good point though. Just about the idea of there is still something of a collaborative nature, particularly when you're talking about developing a character for this long and this deep with an actor. That has to be somewhat collaborative there.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think in the writing though makes this particular episode? Like, what about the writing in this episode just really gets you?
I think Breaking Bad does a really good job with like not saying too much, like they don't give away too much, and even in the dialogue they don't it's like every single action. It's an unpredictable storytelling. Like it always goes a different direction than you think it's going to go. Like, or I don't know. I'm constantly surprised in episodes of Breaking Bad and episodes of Better Call Saul with the way that they write. And the monologue at the end, in terms of the writing, is what really gets me. The way that they write, like how Mike processes grief, and so I don't know. The monologue, I think, at the end is just so beautifully written.
I do love the idea when you talk about the surprise, because like I said, there was very little in the way of what happened. We kind of didn't know the details here, but you sort of understood the mechanics of it from the second you learned it. Like his son died, mysterious ambush. The guy's partner died like 6 months later, mysterious ambush. Mike just shows up in Albuquerque at that moment. Right. All of this somehow and you're just like, we get it. And like I said, when it came down to it, the details were very much what you thought. They were how to put this, fun. It was entertaining when you got to see what he actually, like how it went down.
Right.
Like the way that he set up these cops. I loved the planting the gun in the cop car.
Yes.
And having them take his gun off of him.
That had no bullets in it.
He was defenseless.
All right.
They were
going to use his own gun against him.
Yeah, exactly. And then going to use it against him. And anyway.
So good.
Yeah,
it's great.
Scene. But that he gets around to in the monologue, the idea, the surprise of it is not what I did. It's not that. And it's not, am I going to hide this from my daughter-in-law for forever?
Right.
It's, okay, I'm telling you this, fully knowing that you could go to the cops. You could turn me in. Like, that is what could happen here. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you all of this. The question is, can you live with it?
Right.
And that was the surprise, was the idea of like, it's not about what did I do or what happened. We all know what happened. Mm-hmm. The question is, are you able to go on without any trial, without anybody going to jail, without anything else happening? Are mm-hmm. you able to just live your life now that you know for sure that this is the thing?
Yeah. I forgot the last line. It's an incredible part. It's telling his daughter-in-law in so many words, admitting in so many words that he did kill these two cops. And is she going to be able to live with that?
Yeah. I killed the two cops. I was dirty before that. Your husband took money because I told him to take money. And then he was murdered by other cops for it. Like, you have to know that that's the world. You have to know that that's real. And you have to know that the best that could ever happen was that I would get revenge by killing those guys. There was no other version of like justice here. There was never like you were going to bring them to trial for what happened, know? So I murdered them, and you know that now, and you know that we're dirty and that all this shit is dirty. Can you just go on? Can you just live your life? And it really is asking that question in a way that is, it really profoundly like wants to put it to the viewer as well. You can sympathize with all of the reasons and all of the things. Could you just go on?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Isn't there some sort of legal, ramifications for any of this?
Yeah.
And, he's saying, can you get by without that?
Mm-hmm.
And
if this is all it is, if this is how justice was served.
Right. If you trust me, right, mm-hmm. as the guy who has dealt with this for so long, if you trust me, there's no other version of justice.
Right.
There's nothing else that happened. Are you going to call the cops on me again? Because again, he went over there because he was mad because she called the cops. And we're like, well, I thought that there might be some information on, the thing. And he's like, why are you doing this? Like, it's obvious. The answer to this is obvious. Just shut up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, you don't need to look into this anymore. You know, like the only reason he tells her is because she basically just hasn't gotten it.
Right.
You know,
right.
Like,
Clearly,
I see that you're struggling to understand. So
Yeah.
let me spell this out for you.
Right.
But yeah, and it does it. You know, it puts the care for his granddaughter perspective and everything.
I don't know how familiar either of you are with The Godfather, but I really got Godfather vibes from this episode. Like,
Oh, yeah.
there was a shot of oranges in the beginning, and I don't know, again, familiarity with The Godfather, but in The Godfather, oranges signify like pending death, and this is the first episode in Better Call Saul where there was any death at all. So that was definitely like a Godfather thing to me. And
has
then,
to have been an actual call.
And then there was another part where Saul was talking about, or he was giving a speech, and it called back to Vito Corleone's speech where he's talking about they got my son or whatever. I don't know the words, but you know what I'm talking about.
Look at how they
yeah. Right.
Okay, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Godfather.
Totally.
No. Yeah. Oh yeah. There were. I mean, this was right out of it. The playbook, the hiding the gun.
Yeah, the hiding the gun.
Right
Yeah, the setup.
You know what I'm saying?
Setup,
like all of that was definitely there. All right.
But I do want to talk about like the episode before this one, because I watched the whole thing leading up to it again because I'm a dork.
Right.
And like up until the episode right before this one, Mike was kind of just like in his booth the entire time. He never got out of his booth, but at the end of episode 5, we see him get out of his booth and walk away, and that's kind of like a little preview of what is opening up Mike's world to us. And I thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah,
if I wouldn't have been paying extra attention to the upcoming episode, I wouldn't have noticed that. But I thought that was just a really beautiful little filmmaking moment.
Oh, that's
and then again, when I was watching the I just word vomit. I'm sorry.
No, this is great.
Please,
it's all information that's new to me, so I love
Keep
it.
going, yeah.
And then when I was watching the commentary right before this, they were talking about the scene where Jonathan Banks is walking away into the rain after he shot the guys, and how oh God, did I write it down? No, I didn't. But there's a certain kind of shot, like at the beginning, like a shadow entrance, like at the beginning of Exorcist, where he's kind of revealed from the shadows. This was a shadow exit, where as he walks away, he kind of disappears into the shadows.
Right.
And that was kind of cool. And also, they were fighting like major lightning storm during that scene.
Oh God.
I also, and this might be like just by association, but I did kind of get No Country vibes from that scene in the beginning when he goes and he gets the maxi pad out of the women's bathroom.
Totally.
To fix up his own shoulder and so on. But yeah, I love that Gilligan is like, you know, just so open about his influences. You know, is totally, you know, is part of the thing. But he's also just really thoughtful. He's just one of those guys who, like, and things change over the course of his making his shows. But he obviously puts a lot of thought into, you know, the symbols that he is using and how he, you know, sets up certain things.
I didn't plan on saying this, but it's almost like he puts as much thought into like his inspiration and the way he handles showing his inspiration, like Dan Harmon did with Community.
Yeah.
In drama form.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I can see it.
There's a solid argument to be made for a Vince Gilligan, Dan Harmon, like writing dyad.
Yeah.
Sort of like being the sort of what would you call it? The turn for like prestige TV, like finding its formula, like came out of like almost both of them.
Yeah, totally.
Onward, but like because I don't know, you could make an argument about that. You would have to go back to the early days of prestige TV and the kind of throwing the spaghetti at the wall thing.
Yeah.
And you know, and then eventually we just sort of we found it. We stumbled on to the show somehow. Them and what's his name who did Mad Men?
Oh yeah. What the fuck
Weiner.
is his name? Yeah, that's right, Weiner.
Yeah, Weiner. But
which I just got into earlier this year for the first time.
Like, you watched the whole thing?
I haven't finished it. I'm on like season 4 or 5 or something.
Savor it. The first time
Yeah.
is so awesome.
Yeah.
I still haven't
It's
ever
great.
finished
It's
it.
fantastic. It's so
Yeah,
it,
great
everything's-
show.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
It-
brilliant show.
I've seen it a million times.
Yeah,
So many times.
it's one of those. Amanda can just like put it on in the background there.
It's one of the
and-
things we bond over.
and just let that. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no. So this show again, and particularly Better Call Saul, and I almost feel like part of it was just about showcasing these performances, and really for some actors that I feel like this was, this comes at really interesting points in their career. Banks before this had been, his best known roles were as like henchman in Beverly Hills Cop, and
Right.
he
was
and,
in
like,
Joe versus the Volcano too.
Joe versus the Volcano. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like he was, in some things. It's not like he hadn't been around, but
Right.
that's what happened. Like sometimes you find your part. Just
Well, yeah,
later in
Breaking
life.
Bad made everyone's careers.
Everyone's career. Oh yeah, we never would have thought of fucking Brian
Cranston.
Bryan Cranston. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We never would have thought of Bryan Cranston the way that we do
Yeah.
from just Malcolm. Like we just wouldn't be there.
I know, it's great.
Is the thing. And so it really is. It's very cool how that how that happened and what that did. And but I still love that Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, he's so good.
Got such a bump out of all of that.
Now he's
All
in a
right.
video game and stuff.
What do you guys think about this as like an introduction for people who watched Breaking Bad? But I feel like if you want to get them into Better Call Saul, you show them this episode instead of the first episode.
Yeah. Because
it's
you're
kind
saying
of standalone. It doesn't give away anything
yes,
about Better Call
I
Saul,
agree.
really.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. No, you don't learn anything new about Saul in that episode.
Right. Yeah, and it is just a good solid episode.
Yeah.
It's just a great,
It's great.
watching episode of TV.
It could honestly stand alone as its own piece of media. It wouldn't even need Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad.
So my favorite show, if we ever get to talk about my favorite show, is going to always wind up being American Dad. But there's one about Breaking Bad where they figure out that you're supposed to watch the episodes on rewind. And then if you do, there's Vince Gilligan is talking backward, and he's like, "Hey, you found my secret code and learned how to watch the show properly. Now you got to go to Albuquerque, but you have to drive there backward." And then and it just all this stuff keeps happening. They keep doing backward. They finally find that Vince Gilligan buried himself in the desert with $100 to give to the fan who figures it out. It's just been dead in a box for the last 5 years.
Oh, that's great.
But it was, it was amazing. But the whole idea was just that everything he does has to have some grand twist to it, but you just haven't seen coming. And you always did. And that was the other thing, was that it was no, this was all pointless. It was always there. And that I always thought was true about Breaking Bad, was that there is no real twist to this. It's exactly what you think it is.
Right.
He's becoming more megalomaniac because he is getting money now and committing violence. That's why it's happening. It's
yeah.
Right, exactly. Why did Mike do shit? Because shit was corrupt in the police department. What do you want?
No, it's people are broken, and that's what I like about the show, is that you have a lot of characters that are just fully broken, and
Yeah.
But they're I love that they made Saul such a sympathetic character, because in the show you're kind of you like Saul, but you're also kind of man, this guy is a scumbag.
Yeah.
You feel bad for liking him.
You feel bad for liking him. And then in Saul and Better Call Saul, it's just, you're he's such a good dude.
Yeah.
He's such a good person.
Trevor kind of spoke to this before, but do you think that this episode was more impactful because we knew Mike from Breaking Bad and you kind of spoke to this when you were talking about we knew him as like the stoic thing, but like for somebody who hadn't seen Breaking Bad, do you think that had the same impact? Because it was just like this parking attendant guy, basically.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I think it would. I think it's such a great performance that like you might be affected by it, and like you might even cry because it's like you understand, like you said, it's a standalone episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know, man. Like I love Mike. I like just think he's such a great character, and he's one of my favorite characters in Breaking Bad. And to see him in this moment where you're like, wow, I feel like I've known this guy for I don't know, 8 years since I started watching Breaking Bad.
Right.
And now I'm seeing this totally new side of him, you know, and it's that that's I mean, I don't know. If you're like a huge Breaking Bad fan and you haven't watched Better Call Saul, you gotta do it.
Yeah, I would say that, if you were watching this episode and you had never seen Breaking Bad, that it probably wouldn't be you would probably have it be like, oh man, that's heavy. But like, you just don't get the way that you do if you've seen Breaking Bad. Like, it is like,
I mean, because people are fucking upset. It's like, the craziest fan base, it's like became such a huge show.
I had a Breaking Bad finale party.
Oh hell yeah, that's great.
Oh yeah.
And it was worth it.
There was one over at Randy's. I remember that. I remember Matt Gersting said being at the Breaking Bad finale party with me was one of the worst experiences that he ever had. And that was literally like one of the best conversations that we had. And so I always carry that around with me. But that I apparently
why did he think it was so bad?
Because I don't shut up. Like, because I just it's
so you talk through the
physically
show.
Impossible. Oh yeah. Just a nightmare.
Nick Pupo, I have to tell you before I forget, your segment in the Tyler Jackson's The Room thing was one of my favorites of the whole thing.
Oh,
thanks.
Thanks.
That whole project was so fun, but your segment, and that one in particular, and then there was this one animated that was like cardboard cutout something or other. I go back and watch them every now and then just because they were so
that's
neat.
great. I don't think I ever watched the full thing. I should watch that whole thing.
It is some of it horrible and some of it amazing, just like the movie.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, where should people find you? I mean, other than watching *Halt and Catch Fire* as much and as often as humanly possible, which they definitely should do.
Hey, I'm probably gonna give that show a rewatch. I think they actually just took it off of Netflix, though, which kind of
did they?
I think
where they put it?
I don't know.
Probably
I need
AMC Plus.
I need to own it, and I need to rewatch it anyway because it really is a phenomenal show. But other than telling people to do that, where else should people check you out? You got stuff. Give us all the plugs.
Yeah, well, I have. I don't know like what shows I'm allowed to talk about. I have 3 miniseries coming out this year.
Oh wow.
One is on Paramount Plus that comes out in April, and I don't think I'm allowed to talk about that one.
All right.
Which I don't know why. They're trying to keep it really hush hush.
Okay.
Well, this won't come out until after April, so you're cool.
It won't?
No.
Yeah, we're working
okay.
very, very ahead right now.
Good. Yeah. Then I'll just tell you that it's
okay.
I'm on an episode of this show called The Offer, and it's a Godfather. It's like a Godfather narrative show. They talk about the making of Godfather. It's like this. It's like a dramatized thing.
Oh, so you were familiar with The Godfather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be like April 20, like I think 6th or 8th or something. It comes out, and it's it was fun. It was a fun show to work on.
Are you playing?
I'm playing John Cazale, actually.
Oh my god! I was about to say, are you playing fucking John Cazale? I was seriously joking. Are you dead serious?
I'm really playing John Cazale. Yeah, it's
okay,
crazy.
We're gonna have to pretend that this has already come out and that I haven't been there because I would know. Already, and just be like, so in your stunning performance as the man who was only in Oscar-nominated Best Picture movies.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy thing that happened. Yeah.
Did you get to like do some method acting by being married to Meryl Streep for just like a little bit?
I tried my damnedest, but I mean, it was like, man, it's such a crazy experience. I did try to reach out to Al Pacino because I was like, I'll just try, might as well.
Yeah.
And I reached out to his manager or agent or something, and then Paramount found out somehow, and they were like, they called my agent and they were like, hey, he is not allowed to talk about this project at all, not even with Al Pacino. And I was like,
wow.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was,
well, Mom. Mom.
Yeah.
Absolutely fucking square. But God.
I know. It was weird. It was a weird moment.
I am looking forward to this thing.
Oh, Colin Hanks is in it, and
Giovanni Ribisi,
who's like one of my favorite actors.
Oh my God.
Same. Hard same. Miles
I did not
Teller,
get to
who
meet
I also
him.
love.
Oh, Miles Teller. Yeah, Miles Teller.
You didn't get to meet who's Miles Teller playing?
Al Ruddy, the producer.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So it's more about the behind the scenes,
it's more about like the producing side, yeah.
Right.
So that's why like I like, although I am playing Cazal, who's like a major figure in this film, all of the guys who were the cast in the original film, like all the people who are playing those characters, we play pretty small parts, so like we have a few lines in a couple of episodes. And so that's the first show, and then there's another show. There's another 2 shows that are coming out. One is on Stars, I think, and then another one is Amazon that come out like in the summer.
Well, I got
Stars has a very discerning palette, so I am very excited.
I was gonna say, we got Stars for some good stuff. So
great!
I have Stars for P Valley and P Valley alone, but I will watch anything on Stars.
Oh, that's great.
I'm looking very much to seeing your John Cazale hairpiece and makeup done.
Oh, thanks, man.
Thanks, that's got to be good times.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man, for coming on this. I really appreciate this.
Yeah.
So what are you off to do? You're doing a live show right now?
I'm doing I'm going to the Yard where I also do a monthly show.
Okay.
Last Saturday of the month. It's
do you host
Pizza Moon. Yeah, I host, co-host.
Yeah.
Co-produce and yeah, it's at the end of every month, 9:30 at the Yard.
You should give us your social media so that the people who are listening can follow you and see how awesome you are.
Oh, thank you very much, Jackie, for saying that. It's Nick Pupo, NickPupo, on everything. So just at Nick Pupo. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, for my social.
I have one final question.
Okay.
Are you a skip intro kind of guy?
Skip intro kind of guy. Are we talking about for like Marin or something?
Like when you're binging, do you skip the intro?
Oh, man, that's, it depends. Like if I'm watching a show like Taxi, I will listen to the theme song every single time. I don't know why. I just love it.
Yeah.
And also I really like the Mad Men theme song, and I love the Succession theme song. But I think I am a skip.
Banger.
The morning show. If you haven't watched the morning show, the morning show intro.
Phenomenal.
I think it does depend on the intro, but I'll skip even Better Call Saul, which is like a 10 or 15 second intro. I'm like, I'm good.
But that's okay.
Yeah,
but that's not trying. Peacemaker, I will never skip. Peacemaker,
No.
I will go back and rewatch the intro. Just for
I've never watched it. I'll have to check it out.
The intro to Peacemaker is everything James Gunn has ever wanted to do in his life, and he has proven the value of Trauma Studios with this show. I just entirely. This was marvelous. It is so good to see you, man. I'm glad that you're doing so well out there. I cannot fucking wait.
Thanks, dude.
This thing. I'm so excited about this.
It's gonna be really cool.
I will catch you all later.
Yeah, it was great to see you guys. It's really great to catch up.
I'm very shy and weird, but yes,
That's
it was great.
Yeah. All right,
Most
guys.
honest, sir. Break a leg out there tonight.
Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.